Welcome back to the channel. My name is Douglas, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the difference between the Nord Piano 6 and the Nord Grand 2. Now, I've got both of these in front of me. I'm going to play you some sounds from them, talk about the differences. If you're looking to jump into the world of Nord, and maybe you've dreamed of having a Nord, having those great quality sounds and features, and wondering which one's best for you, hopefully this video helps give you the information you need to decide which of the models in the Nord world are best for you. So both these keyboards are geared towards the piano player. So when it comes to sounds, I've got a white grand on both of these. I've got an amount of 3 on the room reverb. Pretty much identical because they leverage the Nord piano library and the Nord sample library from Nord. So both of these have the same exact sound libraries within them. And actually the functionality is pretty much identical between them too. And so as we look at these, the differences come into play on the form factor and the key feel. So let's talk a little bit about sounds first. So again, white grand, play this on the Grand 2. And then on the Piano 6, I don't know if you noticed, as soon as I started playing the Piano 6, I had to dial my weight back on how I was playing that because it came in louder. And that's starting to show you the weight difference between these two keybeds. When they're side by side, I have to play the Piano 6 a little bit lighter because the key action is a little bit lighter than the action on the Grand 2. So this has the Kawai action. It's a collaboration to build kind of a custom keybed for the Nord Grand 2 between Kawai and Nord. The Nord Piano 6 has the triple sensor keybed in it that Nord has in a few of their other lines as well. So the unique part of the Nord Grand 2 is that Kawai action. The keys themselves have more of a matte finish. They're slightly on the ivory color side, whereas the Nord Piano 6 is on the whiter side of things, and it's a more glossy finish. When we look at the edges, they both have an overhang, but the overhang feels more realistic on the Grand 2. And I would say the corners are slightly sharper on the Grand 2 than they are on the Piano 6. Now, neither of these are really meant for playing organs. You have a couple of pipe organ samples in there, but nothing in terms of B3s. They're really not meant for that. They're geared towards the piano player that wants to be able to mix in some strings. So if we turn strings on, as you can see, they sound identical, and so I could play. I could play both of them at the same time, and they blend perfectly. So we're gonna set that off the table, and we're gonna focus on some of the form factor differences. So again, the key feel on the Nord Grand 2 is heavier. Let me just play the pianos again. I would say on the Nord Grand 2, it's probably more accurate to a real grand piano. That release and just the way the dynamics of the keys. The rebound is faster on the Piano 6. They are both triple sensor, which means I don't have to wait for the key to come all the way back up to re-trigger it. it has a sensor in the middle that allows the key not to have to come fully back up before re-triggering the sound. What that allows is not only for trills like that, but also for more dynamic playing, because I can just re-trigger those keys really softly. Now, in terms of the body of the keyboards, the Nord Piano 6 is lighter than the Nord Grand 2, and the Nord Grand 2 has this rise on the back. The panel is tilted towards you. It's a little easier to see. I think this fits perfectly in a home type of setting, but I do know churches that use the Nord Grand lines as well, because when you're a piano player coming from playing an acoustic piano and maybe your church is switching to the digital world, it's less of a jump than it is going to something like the Piano 6. From the feel perspective, this is more similar to an actual grand piano, and just the way that everything is laid out feels more like an actual piano than the Piano 6 does. And so I think it's more of a psychological gap there for piano players, but when you're moving from an acoustic at church to digital, the Grand offers kind of that nice middle ground to help you span to maybe a Nord Stage 4 further on down the line. So again, functionality-wise, they're pretty much identical. Piano section has 2 layers, same on both. Sample synth, 2 layers. The throw on the faders is shorter on the Nord Grand 2 than it is on the Piano 6, just because of the space we're working with. We have a fairly narrow space on the Grand 2. We have the full body of the Piano 6 that is able to kind of spread those controls out a little more. They're a little bit more compact on the Grand 2, but not in a bad way. It's nice having that tilted panel. In terms of other features on the piano section, really the only difference is the ability to turn the string res on and off, as well as the soft release on the piano section on the Grand 2 versus just having the resonance on all the time on the Piano 6. Can't change those settings. The rest of it is identical. The sample synth section is identical except for 2 differences. The Grand 2 has a bright soft setting, and you could accomplish that with EQ on the Piano 6, which was the reason they removed it from the Piano 6. And then the Piano 6 has separate knobs for attack, decay, release. Grand 2 has attack and then a combined decay release knob. So really the only 2 differences there. They have glide, they have mono legato. Again, the sample library itself, same between the 2. They can both transpose, they both have 2 split zones, and they both have crossfade between the 2 zones. What this sounds like is if I turn layer on and I come in here, I've got my split point in the center position. This is gonna be the same on either of these. And I set my, let's say, no crossfade to start with. I'm gonna take my strings and put that in the upper, piano in the lower. Now, as we hit that split point, we have a hard split between our 2 zones. If we turn crossfade on, what this does is it fades the sound across that so we don't have that hard cut. And I can choose between a plus and minus 6 or a plus and minus 12 semitone crossfade. This really allows me to smooth out that transition when I have 2 very different sounds in those zones. So if I forget where my split point is and I'm playing in a live scenario, I don't have that hard cut. It's a softer kind of transition. Really cool. That crossfade is amazing because it takes that hard cut out of those 2 zones. Again, the same on both of them. They both have live mode. They both have the 6 buttons under the screen, 6 live mode slots, and the effects are really the same as well. So we have the mod 1, mod 2, which are a chorus, flanger, phasers, and then we have equalizer, amp, compression, delay, and reverb. Same exact effects on the Piano 6, as well as the fact that the effects apply independently to each layer within our sections. Now, the one exception to that, and this applies to both of them, is the global reverb. So the reverb, the type and the settings for the reverb are the same across all our layers, but we can set the send amount, the wet dry amount of that reverb independently per layer. So gives us a little bit of flexibility there. That's identical. So functionality wise, they're the same except for those couple of little differences. And then it comes down to form. So what do you need or want as a keyboard player? So if you're true piano, you really want that true to life piano action, I would go with the Nord Grand 2. I love this. I bought this. This is my keyboard. The Nord Piano 6 is on loan to me. I'll be sending this back shortly. And I have the Nord Grand 2, so I don't really need, because they're identical from a feature perspective, and I have the Nord Stage 4, which is a personal purchase as well. Between the Nord Stage 4 and the Nord Grand 2, they satisfy that full range of what I want as a keyboard player. But from the perspective of piano's your primary, but you want something that's a little more portable, I think that's where the Nord Piano 6 comes in. I know a lot of churches that use the Piano 5 and the Piano 6 because they can move them from room to room easier if they're kind of sharing the keyboard across multiple spaces. And it takes up a little bit less room, it's a smaller form factor. And so that's where I see the Piano 6 really standing out from a difference perspective on these two. But again, sound-wise, the same. Feature-wise, pretty much the same. Input-output-wise, pretty much the same. And so what it comes down to is the form factor, what's important to you, as well as the key feel. I think the Nord Grand 2 feels amazing. It is heavier, so if you're playing a long gig, doing a lot of playing, you do need to build up the stamina of your fingers compared to the Nord Piano 6 or the Nord Stage 4. But ultimately, these are two amazing pianos from Nord. And I would say my personal favorite is the Nord Grand 2, the reason I choose to own this one. But they're both amazing. And hopefully this gave you the information that you need to go out and figure out which one's best for you. I'm going to play you just a couple of additional sounds between these two boards. If you've got any questions around the Piano 6 or the Nord Grand 2, feel free to throw those down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and keep making that music.